بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فسبح باسم ربك العظيم. فسبح باسم ربك العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح لله ما في السماوات والأرض وهو عزيز حكيم. سبح لله ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. له ملك السماوات والأرض يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم. هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم. الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش يعلم ما يلج في الأرض وما يخرج منها وما ينزل من السماء وما يعرج فيها وهو معكم أينما كنتم والله بما تعملون بصير. له ملك السماوات والأرض وإلى الله ترجع الأمور. له ملك السماوات والأرض وإلى الله ترجع الأمور. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم اللعين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Tonight we have gathered Muslimin and Muslims to commemorate the Shahadat of Hazrat Az-Zahra, al-Aimma. Fatima Az-Zahra has a special place in the heart of all the Muslimin, the Shia, Sunni, and they everybody should know and knows that she was the only daughter of Rasulullah and has a special place in heart of all the Muslims. I can't say how honored I feel that we are in the Majlis of Hazrat Az-Zahra alayhi salam, and this day is a special day because we gathered to say a condolences to Imam Zamanana fi Musibat Jaddati. It is a very sad day, and we gathered and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us and inshallah keep our family and our community from this bala, and also give us the understanding of this musibah, and inshallah help us to become better Muslims and better community member and better human all around. So I couldn't think all day that when we get to this day especially, and we put the black fabrics around our house and Majlis Azza, how important this is that we declare ourselves as a Shia of Imam Ali and an Azadar for Fatima Az-Zahra. It's a big honor, and I feel especially blessed and honored to be present. This ayat that tonight I read for you is from Surah Al-Hadid, the last ayah from Surah Al-Waqa, Surah number 66, that actually says the same thing, Sabbahu lillahi ma fis samawati wal ard. All the tasbih and all the greetings goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has created the earth and gave us the special honor and the blessing that we have Shia of Imam Ali, and be prepared to be in this majlis. You know, in comparison, when we get invited to a majlis, let's say a high-end, a prestigious event, we feel honored that the host has invited us to his majlis. And that's for the dunyavi, it's for earthly meetings. Yet alone we are here, and inshallah, angels of Allah with the sanat from Hadith al-Kasa, when the ism of A'imma, the name of A'imma and Ahl Bayt is in a majlis, the angels of Allah come down to this majlis to take the greetings and our greetings to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah, my sincere condolences to Imam Zamanana fi Musibat Jaddi, and inshallah Hazrat Mahdi also has a nazar on us and our family and community, and we benefit from this majlis. And again, we're honored to be present. So with that, I invite you to the majlis. I have a special noha that I want to share with you, and we blessing of this noha will start our meeting. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
صداش نمیاد.
چه ازت دو تا دنده شکسته بین در و دیوار الهی مادر برات بگیرم تبوه نفسات پر درده رو دستای مهربونه زموهامو شده چی شده معلوم چبوده بازو بدم داره گوشه ابرو ای چار مادر چی شده شبوده بازو چه برم داره گوشه ابرو ای جان مادر صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بالمحمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم
صل على محمد وآل محمد. سلامی خلق میں محشر بپا ہے وفات حضرت خیر النساء وفات حضرت خیر النساء ہے یہی آتی ہے ہر چکی سے آواز بطول پاک فقر آسیہ بطول پاک فقر آسیہ ہے ملک آتے نہیں بے اذن گھر میں یہ قدر اہل بیت مصطفیٰ یہ قدر اہل بیت مصطفیٰ ہے پیغمبر کو جو روتی تھی شب و روز اسی کو آج کنبا رو رہا اسی کو آج کنبا رو رہا ہے کہا حیدر سے زہرا نے یہ رو کر کے ساتھ اپنا تمہارا چھٹا ہے میری دو بیٹیاں ہیں اور دو بیٹے یتیمی کا ہر ایک کو سامنا یتیمی کا ہر ایک کو سامنا ہے سلامی خلق میں صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد. जनाब है बिल्किस पासबा है ये, किसकी जनाब है मरियम दुरूद का है ये, किसकी जनाब है शाने खुदाया है ये, किसकी जनाब है दहलीज आसमां है ये, किस की जनाब है कुर्सी जमीन से लेती है, गोशे पनाह के बैठा है अर्श साए में किस, बैठा है अर्श साए में किस, बारगाह के बेटे पुकारते हैं के लिल्लाह बहरा अम्मा ना इतना रो, गुलामों पर रहम खाओ नाना कहाँ गए हैं, बुला लाए हम बताओ हम कपड़े फाड़ते हैं नहीं तो गले लगा, नाना के बाद हाय ये बेकदर हम हुए, सब एक तरफ हुजूर के भी, सब एक तरफ हुजूर के भी प्यार कम हुए, आखिर वफूरे गिरिया से आजिज हुए अरब हैदर के पास रोने की, फरियाद लाए सब की अर्ज फातिमा से, कहो ऐ वली अरब या सैयदा तुम्हारी रही यथ जा बलब, खाने का कोई वक्त ना सोने का वक्त है, जो वक्त है वो आपके रो, जो वक्त है वो आपके रोने का वक्त है, बाहर से मुर्तजा गए घर में झुकाए सर मूढ़ा पे रो रही थी, अकेली वो खुशियार देने लगे पयामे, अरब शाह बहरोबर घबरा के बोली हाय करूं क्या मैं बेपिदर, काबू में मौत होए तो मर जाऊं या अली, बाबा का सोग लेके किधर, बाबा का सोग लेके किधर जाऊं या अली, एक दिन निगाह करते हैं क्या शाह लाफता मतबक है गर्म आरिजे, जो है गधा हुआ नहला रही है बच्चों को, मलमल के दस्तों पा फैला दिए हैं कुर्ते भी धो कर जुदा जुदा, पूछा के इतने कामों का जो शुगल आज है, इस वक्त कुछ बहाल तुम्हारा, इस वक्त कुछ बहाल तुम्हारा मिजाज है, बोली के आज रात को हो जाऊंगी बहार, कल मेरे कारोबार में तुम होंगे खुद निढाल, खिदमत का मेरे बच्चों की होगा किसे ख्याल, नहला धुला दिया के परे शाह था इनका हाल, कुर्ते भी धोए खुद भी कल तक का दे चली, सहराना देखा एक यार, सहराना देखा चली फिर तो हर एक महल्ले में महशर बपा हुआ अपने पराए दौड़े के है ये क्या हुआ फिजा पुकारी सैयदा का वाकया हुआ हुजरा बतूले पाकमा हुजरा बतूले पाकमा तमसरा हुआ छाती खलक से देखने वालों की फट गई मूरख के मुंह पर मुर्दे के जय मूरख के मुंह पर मुर्दे के जय नबली पड़ गई ऐ मेरी फाखा कश्मीरी नादार अम्मा जान ऐ मेरी बेदवा मेरी बीमार अम्मा जान का बेकिया ब्रू मेरी सरदार अम्मा जान ऐ मेरी साबेरा मेरी ना चार अम्मा जान नाना मुई तो थी कोई ताजा खिताब दो अम्मा जवाब दो मेरी अम्मा जवाब दो मेरी अम्मा जवाब दो नन्हे से सर खुले हैं नहीं सर पटोपिया कहते हैं कुछ तो मुंह से निकलता है हाय माँ लिखा है जब जनाजे पर पहुंचे वो नीम जहां हसरत से देखा मुर्दे का मुंह और ये की फुगा अम्मा गुलाम आए हैं रुखसत के वास्ते जाती हो तुम नबी की जिया जाती हो तुम नबी की जियारत के वास्ते सलवात अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद आजिल फरज
I think Maulana, you can, inshallah.
Surah Al-Mubarakah Al-Fatiha. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Ibn Rasulillah. روحي وجسمي وأرواح العالمين لك الفدا يا غريب ويا مظلوم كربلاء ثم السلام عليكم يا أهل العزاء الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته مع الصلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد صرفنا في هذا القرآن للناس من كل مثل وكان الإنسان أكثر شيء جدلا. Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, these are verses from chapter 18 of the Quran, verse number 44, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses us in these terms. He says, surely, certainly, we have made this Quran interspersed with every kind of example, every kind of a parable for mankind. But man is the most disputatious of creatures. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these verses, this idea that the Quran has all the examples for us to contemplate upon and to act upon, to seek guidance, to take instructions and take lessons from these examples so that we stay on Sirat al-Mustaqim, so that we benefit most from this world and from so that we go in the hereafter happy that we are now in a better place. So what does an example normally do? What is the purpose? What is the function of an example? What is an example? Example is either something anecdote, something which is hypothetical, or something which is real. The point is that incident, that situation that is used and given to us, it makes us think, it makes us contemplate, think of what are the consequences of taking an action in a certain way or not taking action in a way that is required. So these are the examples, and in which in the Quran gives so many examples to help us, to guide us, so that we, as I say, stay on Sirat al-Mustaqim. In light of that, we will take one of the examples from the Quran. This is something which is going to happen, is going to happen. And that is the day of Qiyamah. When this world in which we live, when finally the day comes to an end, what is going to happen? That Allah tells us. And how is that example that we are going to mention here tonight, go over it very, very quickly, not in much depth, is how relevant it is for us. And as an example, what is it that we should get from it? So in light of that, we will look very briefly at chapter 99, Surah Zilzala, the quake. This is how the surah is. This is how the surah begins. It's a small chapter. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يرى ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يرى. This is the chapter that talks about the end of the system that we know of, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions 6 things, very important, 6 things, which will happen at the advent of the end of the system in which we live. Number 1, there is a shaking of the earth. The shaking will be very, very severe, very, very intense. So intense that the consequences will be, because of the shaking of that system, of the earth, something will happen. What is it? إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها أخرجت الأرض أثقالها. The shaking of that earth, number 2, will bring about an appearance of the unknown, things which had never been there before. With the shaking, certain things will begin to happen. With what? With that shaking, things will come up, which man had never ever seen. And therefore there will be that shock. And therefore they tell earth, what will they say? إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض وقال الإنسان ما لها. What is happening? There will be that state of shock. What is happening? Then they will get a reply. The reply will be from sources, again, which were totally alien. The man had never seen these things. Something which will begin to address them. Something which they never thought had that capacity. The earth that is shaking and the things that are appearing will address men and will tell them, today we have a message for you. Today we have a message for you. And what is that message for you? You are going to now move in groups. Going to be all put together in groups, separate groups. And you will be shown your deeds. What you have been doing, you will be showing, you'll be now accountable for all that you have been doing. And these are your deeds, therefore. Every single deed, goodness that you have done, you shall see. And every evil that you have committed, you shall see. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى. Why did I say this is a good example for us? It's an example. Does it mean, therefore, that what is happening today is the application of these verses that exactly is happening to us and that we are now ending towards Qiyamah? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. What is important is as an example to deal with the current situation of COVID-19. This is what is happening right now is only a shadow of what these verses are talking about here. As an example, putting forward in front of us that this is gonna happen and that you should have some feeling, some understanding of what this is going to be. Allah, therefore, shows us. Therefore, very briefly, we look at how relevant are these verses in understanding what is happening right now. As I said earlier, does not necessarily mean that we are now already in that state. No, it's just a shadow of it, just an example for us to look at these verses and compare it with what is happening today and take lessons from it. Therefore, we very briefly look at what the verses talk here and what is happening today in this world globally, because this process that Allah talks in the Quran here is a global activity. It's going to affect throughout creation. And therefore, you see one thing which is common as a shadow is COVID-19 is a global problem, is a global phenomenon. And who started what, where is immaterial for our purposes. Our purpose is what is happening, and that Allah has the complete control. It's not that Allah has lost control. It's in a complete control of Allah. And He wants us to learn from what is going on. Number one, when Allah talks, the 5 things that we should understand. When Allah talks about this shaking of the earth, there are 5 things that we see already shaken to the core, totally disintegrated. Number one is our social system is in complete mess. Number 2, the economy, the structure of the economy, the basis of the economy has been given a shake. It has shaken. Number 3, our cultural behavior and environment is in a complete topsy-turvy. It is shaken totally. Number 4, the political system of this world has been shaken to the extent I don't have to tell you more. Those systems that they thought they were invincible, that they were so strong that nothing would happen to them. You can see this situation is shaking, totally shaking. And I don't have to explain more to it. You know, you can see it what is happening today. And 5, very important, is the spiritual shakeup that we have at this point in time. Spiritually, we have to be very careful. Now, I'll explain very quickly about this shakeup of this thing. Number 1, when you talk about social, basic human nature is we are social animals. Let's say we are social animals. In that we have to live. Our most basic instinct is to socialize, to be together. And that has been disrupted. That has been totally disrupted. And I don't have to tell you, today social distancing has become the most important part of human survival. That what we used to do before meeting, today we cannot do that. That is something which we are told to avoid. And the symbol of that is niqab that you put, the mask that we put on our faces. That we should not even, there are some people whom we do not even, you cannot even recognize them, those whom you know, but because of that on their face, you don't even recognize. That is one thing that we should think about. That is the complete social quaking, shaking up. Number 2 is the economy. The economy, our economy, the economy of these people who are the richest people in the world. Today, over 1 million people are jobless. Several hundred businesses have been closed down. People who had never, ever depended on social welfare today are looking for food. Why? There is a complete shock that what you thought that you were so strong and invincible, see how weak you are. This is what is happening. Number 4 is the health part of it, the physical part of it, and the spiritual aspect of our lives are all shaken up. We are therefore in that state of complete, when something is shaken, is an example. Allah mentions shaking up the system, the basis on which you have built your social, your cultural, your spiritual, all your systems are in complete mess. Today, we cannot go in our places of worship. We cannot do that. Why? What has happened? Again, Allah is giving us this opportunity. Take lessons from what is happening. That Allah does not need a small insect. If you call it an insect, you call it a virus, whatever you want to call it. Small thing, very small is enough to totally disorganize us, totally destroy us to that extent that we cannot and we do not know for how long this is going to be. Therefore, there's as an example of what we should take from these verses of the Quran. That's one thing. So this is what happens when Allah talks about shaking up. I don't have to go into the details. You all understand what I'm talking about. And we don't have that much time to talk about. The second thing is that Allah talks about the appearance of something that man had never ever thought of. You ask, what is this? What is this happening? We've never seen this before. This is totally unknown to us. COVID-19. COVID-19. It is coming. And every time when we thought that we are in a position to control it, it defies us. It defies us. And so far, yes, with the permission of Allah, that Allah has given us that respite, that we are coming out with solutions. We're coming out with these injections that we are going to get. Hopefully, it is going to help. We do not know. Therefore, we are in that state of complete shock. We do not know what is going to happen. How is it going to work with us? We are therefore totally disoriented. We do not know. We do not know. وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. The challenge is, it is so vocal. This virus is so vocal, is so strong, is so powerful that it just goes on. And it does not confine itself in only one particular area. It is global, it is universal. And it has its own strength, and all the time it defies us. And it speaks to us. How? In terms of two things. One is the number of people who fall sick. The second thing is the number of people who die. And this is again the main ask. What is this? What is this happening? And some come with all the theories in the world. Oh, this man started it, or this came, whatever it is. Who started it, when it started, how. It's not important. Important thing is we cannot control it. And we are not in a position to handle it. وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. O mankind, learn. Learn that you are insignificant in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However strong and powerful you may think you are, you're not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this small creature of his is showing us how weak we are. And there is therefore a lesson in this, that we should begin to think very, very seriously of what is going to happen. And you will see the situation has come such. I do not know about other places. I talk about where we live here in New York. When this pandemic started, you will not believe it. But this is what happened here. And I'm not joking, and it is reality. People were giving out their dollars to get toilet paper. Sometimes some of the third world countries, because of the value of the currency is so low, that people sometimes talk in terms of this currency is like toilet paper. That's what they used to say. The world has now changed. Situation has become such, and we are being shown this lesson. Then I'm telling you, we're going to the supermarket with our dollars. We want toilet paper. They want enough toilet paper. قَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا. We're looking at each other and say, what is what is happening? What is happening is, human beings, you take example. Therefore, then comes this. We have got وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَى لَهَا. We have been inspired to address you and to open your eyes. What is it? That you are accountable for what you do. There is accountability. The situation in which you find yourself, you have made it yourself. Inna hadaynahu sabila. Inma shakira wa inma kafura, Allah says. The straight path Allah created for us for guidance, so that we live a life of ease and comfort. It is we ourselves who have destroyed the system in which Allah wanted to live, we became so much of kufr, so much of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so much injustices, so much corruption. That is what they are inspired. They are inspired. They say, we have been inspired to tell you what? There is accountability very soon. And there is accountability. You will be coming in groups. There will be groups. These groups will, in terms of how you have been obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How just you were to yourselves, to your families, to the communities in which you live, to those people who are under rulership. You took oath to serve your people, and you did not do that. You are accountable for that on the day of Qiyamah. You have done all that zulm here. You have all that atrocities that you do. These things then وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَىٰ لَهَا يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَىٰ لَهَا. And you are going to be in groups. To do what? وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. Your whole life, whatever you have done, you shall be seeing. It will be brought in front of you. This is what you have done. That's what Allah says in the Quran. I do not do justice to anyone. You do injustices to yourselves. And therefore you shall see. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. The goodness that you have done, even if it is as small as an atom, you shall see that. And if you have done evil, you shall see that. This is therefore very briefly, these verses of the Quran, this chapter is about Qiyamah. And as I've said repeatedly, I'm not saying that this means that we are now ready in Qiyamah, not at all. Allah knows better when this system is going to end. When this world is going to end, Allah knows better. But what we do know is it is an example for us. Like many other examples which are mentioned in the Quran, this is one of the examples of this is what's going to happen to you. Open your eyes, change your ways. This is now that spiritual quaking that we have to think of. This is the time that we have to think. There's a lot of time that we have. We used to be very busy. Now Allah has given us, this is a ni'mah in a way. Allah has given us time to think about spiritual contemplation. Now that you sit inside at your home, start thinking about what? One of those du'as that Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam used to read to remove bala. And when this bala started, Ayatul Uzama Ali Khamenei had advised us, read this dua. And I don't have time to go into the whole dua. I will just mention two things about that dua. Very interesting and very important for us to seek guidance during this time of this pandemic, this difficult time. In it we say, Allah, number one, in the middle of it, we're mentioning Allah's powers and that everything is in the control of Allah. And that what Allah does not want to happen will not happen. And what Allah wants to happen will happen. And that there are certain things in which Allah will not intervene. And in certain matters, Allah will intervene. And therefore, we ask two things. Number one, we say, Ya Allah, do not, Ya Allah, do not let me be in a situation where I cannot perform wajibat. Allah. In COVID-19, you've seen what happens. Those people who become sick, how do they end up in hospitals, sleeping on their chests. There is no time to pray. They are all on those masks and all those incubators, whatever you call them. They are on, they cannot talk, they cannot breathe. How will they perform their wajibat? Therefore, we are asking, Ya Allah, during this time, do not put us in that position that we cannot perform wajibat. And then the second thing, Ya Allah, more than that, and that's a lesson. Do not put us, Ya Allah, in a situation where we cannot perform mustahabat, things which are not wajib, but things which are highly recommended, things which will help support what we do, wajibat, which are not accepted or not in a position to be accepted. And then we do mustahabat to supplement and to complement those acts of wajibat so that Allah accepts them. And therefore we are asking, Ya Allah, in this situation in which we live, do not, Ya Allah, put us in that position where there is sickness or it is such a strain, mental strain, where we begin to lose our faith. Therefore, spiritually, we have to try and enhance and promote our spirituality during this time of crisis. And one way of doing this is to think about the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. And this is an opportunity for us to be thinking about what is it that Ma'sumin have told us to do. And when we are, therefore, tonight when we sit, we use the wasta of Fatima Az-Zahra, salawatullahi alayha. One thing which is very relevant to these verses and the life of Hazrat Zahra is this. Two things I will mention only. Number one is the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, has told Amirul Mu'mineen, who tells us that the Prophet told me, do you know why my daughter is called Fatima? Amirul Mu'mineen says, I asked him, tell us. He says, because she, on the day of Qiyamah, she will go and make sure that all those who are her beloved, her followers, are saved from hellfire, Jahannam. That day which I have mentioned, when it actually happens, this day of Qiyamah, when it is going to be nafsa, nafsi, when no one is going to think of anyone else except oneself. In that situation, it is said, Fatima Az-Zahra salawatullahi alayha will come there and will not go into Jannah before making sure that her followers are with her. That's why she's called Fatima. Number two, Sawaik al-Mahrika, Ibn Hajar Makki, who is not from us, he states this riwayah that on the day of Qiyamah, when there will be nafsa nafsi, the way situation is described here, at that point there will come a voice, all you people who are here, all of us, everybody, close your eyes. The daughter of Prophet Fatima Az-Zahra is coming here. And she will come there to present her case in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the reason why we come to these majalises. This is the reason we try to learn from Ahlul Bayt. And this is the time we think about Ahlul Bayt, and we therefore stick with the Quran. One thing which you have to do, now that we have time, read the Quran. Not only read, there's a lot of sawab, but also try to read the meaning, Try to understand what you are reading from the Quran. At least once in lifetime, once at least. Make sure that we all read from whole Quran in a course of year, 2 years, whatever, and read the translation of the whole Quran, even once. That will be enough for us. On the day of Qiyamah, when the Quran will start complaining, and the Prophet will say that they neglected the Quran, that my ummah neglected the Quran, we should not be among. Therefore, we should seek guidance from Fatima Az-Zahra. This Fatima Az-Zahra, the daughter of the Prophet. How much the Prophet loved her. What a high status she had in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the age of 18, that she should go to the grave of her father and complain to the father, that she should say that the atrocities, the musibah, all these problems that were cast on me, if that had befallen a bright daylight, it would have become dark night. What has happened to Fatima Az-Zahra? What did this ummah do to her? Say, as soon as the Prophet closed his eyes, this ummah, instead of going to console her, they went to burn her house. And when she came out to see these people with fire trying to burn her house, and when she turned to them and said, "This is the house in which I am there, and Hassan al-Hussein, Sayyid al-Shababi al-Jannah are here, you'll burn this house." They said, "So what if you are there?" And they went ahead. And the situation is such, Fatima Az-Zahra is between the wall and the door of the house. And the nails of the doors that pierce the body of Fatima Az-Zahra. The effect is such that Fatima Az-Zahra called her father. She collapses. Mohsin, the child who was in her comb, is killed. Was that enough? No, they came inside. They dragged Amirul Mu'mineen from the house. In that state of sickness, in that state of pain, Fatima Az-Zahra had to go to the mosque to plead. Leave him. Leave Abul Hasan. Oh, I'm going to raise my hands and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to now intervene. This is what happened to Fatima Az-Zahra at the age of 18, and she is bedridden. She cannot come out. She is bedridden. He said it was very difficult for her to move. And he said that she used to tie a piece of cloth on her head here, and she used to be helped moving around. So much had become of her. She would even weep for her father. When she wept, people would come and complain. Amirul Mu'mineen, tell Fatima, her crying is disturbing our sleeps. Tell her if she mourn either in the morning and keep quiet at night, or let her cry at night and keep quiet in the morning. This is all that happened to Fatima Az-Zahra. It is one of those days that Amirul Mu'mineen comes home and he sees her doing a lot of things on that day. She was very weak, but on that day she had gained some strength. She was washing the clothes of the children. She was cooking food for them. Amirul Mu'mineen turns to her and says, "Oh, daughter of the Rasul, oh Fatima, today I see that you are doing so many works." He says, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Abul Hasan, come sit next to me. Ali sits next to her. She turns to him and says, "Oh, Abul Hassan, my days with you are coming to an end. Tonight I am going to leave this world and go and meet my father." Amirul Mu'minin asked her, "How did you know that, Fatima?" She said, "I saw my father in my dreams. I complained to him. He said, 'Fatima, very soon you are going to be with me.' Ya Abul Hassan, therefore this is my last day. I thought before I go, let me prepare food for my children, for Hassan and Hussein. Let me make things for him, serve them in this last moment. When will I be able to serve them again? Ya Abul Hassan, listen to my wasiyah. When I pass away, do not let these enemies of mine to come and visit me and take any part in my burial ceremonies. Bury me in the darkness of the night. Ya Ali, Ya Abul Hassan, my children are younger. They need motherly care. After I have passed away, Mary, the daughter of Zainab Amama, she will take care of my children. Ya Abul Hassan, in my life with you, if there is anything that I did not do what I should have done, forgive me for that." Amirul Mu'minin weeps and says, "Fatima, you did everything that you were supposed to do and more than that." Fatima then bids farewell to Amirul Mu'minin. Amirul Mu'minin goes to the mosque to pray. With him goes Hassan and Hussein. Now Fatima Az-Zahra is left alone at home in company of Asma bint Umayth, who records that Fatima Az-Zahra called me and said, "Asma, take me to that place where I always read my prayers. Asma, leave me there and let me pray to Allah. Stay outside the room. So far as you hear my voice coming, know that I am alive. When you don't hear any voice coming from me, know that I have already left this world. Asma, I have already prepared food for Hasanain. When my children come back, do not tell them that I have passed away. Asma, feed them, then bring them to me." Asma says, "I took Fatima Az-Zahra to the place of worship. She was there doing her prayers. I closed the door. I was sitting outside. Then I heard her pray. Ultimately, she became quiet. I went inside. I called out, 'Oh, daughter of Prophet.' She did not reply. I realized that she had already left this world." Asma says, "In the meantime, Hassan and Hussein came back at home. I called them. I said, 'My children, come sit. Let me serve you food.' Hassan and Hussein said, 'Asma, we always have food with our mother. Why do you want us to feed alone?' Asma said, 'I then could not help. I took the children inside. I told them, your mother has left us.' Hassan and Hussein went to the mosque. They went to tell their father. Amirul Mu'minin came to know about the death of Fatima. Baitul Ahadhan quotes this riwayah. They say Amirul Mu'minin fell down, he fainted. When they brought him up, he said, 'Oh, daughter of the Prophet, you are my only companion after your father. Now I am left alone.' Amirul Mu'minin comes home, does the final ghusl of Fatima in the darkness of night. He calls his children Zainab, Kulsum, Hassan, Hussein, come bid your mother farewell. forward. Zainab came forward. Kulthum came forward. Imam Hassan came forward. Imam Hussein stood apart. He stood apart and he said, Mother, Mother, you always would embrace me. This is the last time I see you. Mother, oh my mother, won't you embrace me? And he said, this is something which is not normal. It doesn't happen normally, but it happened with Fatima. It is said her hands come out of her kafan. She called out like that, come my Hassan, come my Hussein, let me embrace you. Imam Hussein, Imam Hassan were with their mother. Hatib, there came Awaz, there came a Sada from heavens, Ali, separate Hassanain from their mother, because Allah's arch is shaking. Amirul Mu'mineen took the body of Fatima and went to bury it. After burying it, he read a very, very painful marsiya. The gist of it first was, he addressed the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, when you passed away, it was very, very hard for me, but Fatima was there. Now that she has left, I have lost patience, I have lost strength. Oh Fatima, when you go to your father, tell him of all the atrocities that befell us. Then Amirul Mu'mineen bids farewell to the grave of Fatima with this saying, oh Fatima, I am going away, not because I am tired and I don't want to stay here. And oh Fatima, if I had stayed here, it is not because I have lost faith and cannot go forward. No, Fatima, I would prefer to stay in your grave here and spend my life here. But oh daughter of the Prophet, if I stay here, my ummah, there are people who need me. I have to go. Al-Firaq, Al-Wida. Allah la'natullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin. Mata mein Hussein.
ذکر نورانی آقا تسبیحات حضرت زهرا الله اکبر این همه جلال الله اکبر این همه شکوه الله اکبر در راه علی فاطمه ایستاده مثل یکو صلی الله علیه فاطمه صلی الله علیه فاطمه صلی الله علیه فاطمه روی لبها نور و قدر و کوثر و طه ذکر نورانی عاشقها تسبیحات حضرت زهرا الله اکبر این همه جلال الله اکبر این همه شکوه الله اکبر در راه علی فاطمه ایستاده مثل یکو میدونم که راز شهادت این اشکا رنگ خدا میگیرم من با تسبیحات حضرت زهرا الحمدلله که نوکرتم الحمدلله که مادرمی الحمدلله از بچگی ها مادر سایه روی سرمی صلی الله علیک فاطمه صلی الله علیک فاطمه صلی الله علیک فاطمه صلی الله علیک فاطمه از غصه ها چشم عاشقا شده دریا روزه بعد نماز ما تسبیحات حضرت زهرا سبحان الله باغ بهشت و دور سبحان الله از لحظه ورود سبحان الله پیش چشم علی آیه های کوثر شده کبود صلی الله علیک فاطمه صلی الله علیک فاطمه صلی الله علیک فاطمه روی لبها نور و قدر و کوثر و طاها ذکر نورانی عاشقها تسبیحات حضرت زهرا الله اکبر این همه جلال الله اکبر این همه شکوه الله اکبر در راه علی فاطمه ایستاده مثل یک کوه میدونم که راز شهادت این اشکا رنگ خدا میگیرم من با تسبیحات حضرت زهرا الحمدلله که نوکرتم الحمدلله که مادرمی الحمدلله از بچگی ها مادر سایه روی سرمی صلی الله علیک فاطمه صلی الله علیک فاطمه صلی الله علیک فاطمه صلی الله علیک فاطمه
This is the checkers game where grandson and granddad will
تسبیحات حضرت زهرا الله اکبر این همه جلال الله اکبر این همه شکوه الله اکبر در راه علی فاطمه ایستاده مثل یک کوه صلی الله علیک فاطمه 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 یا سیدا اے میری بی بی اے سیدا اے فاطمہ اے مرضیہ اے قلب مصطفیٰ و مرتضی غم کر دوں جو آپ کا بیان گر جائے نہ کہیں یہ آسمان ہو جائے گا فنا یہ جہاں گر نہ ہو ذات آپ کی مہربان صلی اللہ علیہ فاطمہ صلی اللہ علیہ فاطمہ صلی اللہ علیہ فاطمہ صلی اللہ علیہ فاطمہ सजदे में है सर आपका। सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा। या फातिमा क्या क्या ना गम तुमने है सहा, पहलू पर जब तेरे दर गिरा, मोहसिन जिस दम बेजां हुआ, हाय वो तेरे गम की बात, दिन में हो तो हो जाए वो रात, है लाता दात गम के साथ, हाय हाय वो तेरी एक जात। सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा। या फातिमा दर पहलू पे है जिस दम गिरा, आंखों से अश्के नम गिरा, सर पर यूं को है गम गिरा, मोहसिन के खून से तरबतर, हाय हाय वो है तेरा जिगर, खून आलूदा है जो नजर, तेरे ही गम का है असर। सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा। या सैयदा दरबार में तुझको बुलवाया, असहाब ने तुझको रुलवाया, हक को तेरे ना हक खाया, यूं ज़हरा को नाराज किया, हक बच्चों को हरगिज ना दिया, हाय हाय रो रो के तूने कहा, टूटे हैं सितम मुझ पर बाबा। सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा। या सैयदा या फातिमा ज़हरा हो करम, हो सर पे मेरे गाजी का आलम, हो चश्म गमे शह में नम, बीमार शिफा तुमसे पाए, ये दुनिया दवा तुमसे पाए, मुफलिस भी ग़िज़ा तुमसे पाए, हर एक अता तुमसे पाए। सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि फातिमा।
या हुसैन, या हुसैन,
या हुसैन, या हुसैन।
गुजर गई फातिमा जहां से, गुजर गई फातिमा जहां से, यतीम है छोटे छोटे बच्चे, गुजर गई है फातिमा जहां से, यतीम है छोटे छोटे बच्चे, अली है घर में बस अब अकेले, अली है घर में बस अब अकेले, यतीम है छोटे छोटे बच्चे, उठा के रंजो अलम का सह सह के गम सिधारी, उजड़ गया घर हुए ये सदमे, उजड़ गया घर हुए ये सदमे, यतीम है छोटे छोटे बच्चे, जो चोट लगती है नन्हे दिल पर, तो माँ की मैयत के पास आकर पुकारते हैं लिपट लिपट के, पुकारते हैं लिपट लिपट के, यतीम है छोटे छोटे बच्चे। ये रो के फरमा रहे हैं हैदर, पलेंगे मुझसे सगीर क्यों करे, उन्हें कोई किस तरह संभाले, उन्हें कोई किस तरह संभाले, यतीम है छोटे छोटे बच्चे। ये खूब था मुझको मौत आती, मगर ना ज़हरा की जान जाती, ये लाल क्यों करे पलेंगे मुझसे, ये लाल क्यों करे पलेंगे मुझसे, यतीम है छोटे छोटे बच्चे। अब इनको नींद आए शब में क्यों कर, थपक के जिनको सुलाए मादर, थे माँ के पहलू में सोने वाले, थे माँ के पहलू में सोने वाले, यतीम है छोटे छोटे बच्चे। पड़ा है ज़हरा का घर में आशा, हरम में बाकिर है हश्र बरपा, ये रंज पूछो अली के दिल से, ये रंज पूछो अली के दिल से, यतीम है छोटे छोटे बच्चे। गुजर गई फातिमा जहां से, यतीम है छोटे छोटे बच्चे। या हुसैन, या हुसैन,
या हुसैन, हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन। पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है। क्या हाल ये उम्मत ने ज़हरा का बनाया है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है। खातून कोई गम से यूं चूर नहीं देखी, ऐसी कोई दुनिया में मस्तूर नहीं देखी। 18 बरस में ही लगती जो ज़ईफ़ा है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है। दरबार में जालिम ने की ऐसी पजीराई, किस तरह से तू बीबी फिर लौट के घर आई, बालों की सफेदी ने सब हाल सुनाया है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है। तू रोती रही घर में हैदर से भी छुप छुप के, इस्मत की तरह दुख भी पर्दे में रहे तेरे, कुछ दर्द तेरे बीबी बस जानती फिजा है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है। मरहम तेरे जख्मों का बीबी ना मिला अब तक, औलादे उमैया की बाकी है जफा अब तक, रोने पे भी पहरा था, तुर्बात पे भी पहरा है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है। क्या हाल ये उम्मत ने ज़हरा का बनाया है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है। या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन।
ज़ियारत सैयद शुहदा। अस्सलामु अलैका या अबा अब्दुल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न रसूलिल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न अमीरुल मोमिनीन व इब्न सय्यदिल वसिय्यीन, अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न फातिमा अज़-ज़हरा सय्यदतुन निसाइल आलमीन, अस्सलामु अलैकुम साइरिश शुहदाए करबला, खुसूसन सय्यदी मौला या अबुल फद्ल अब्बास या इब्न अमीरुल मोमिनीन, अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू, अस्सलामु अलैका या गरीबल गुरबा, अस्सलामु अलैका या मुइनुल दुअफ़ा वल फ़ुक़रा, अस्सलामु अलैका या सुल्तान या अबुल हसन या अली इब्न मूसा युहर रिदा, अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू, अस्सलामु अलैका या साहिबल असर व ज़मान, अस्सलामु अलैका या शरीकल कुरआन, अस्सलामु अलैका या इमामुल इंस वल जान, अज्जलल्लाहु तआला फरजक व सहलल्लाहु तआला मखरजक व ज़हूरक, अस्सलामु अलैका व अला आबाइक अत-तय्यबीन अत-ताहिरीन, अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। सल्लल्लाहु
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I have a quick announcement before everybody leaves. Just want to announce one of the brothers who was here in Kansas City briefly and he used to come to the programs and he used to come to Dua Kamal regularly, name was Farooq Abbas. He passed away in Pakistan a few days ago. So we ask all the members to recite Surah Fatiha for him and also especially for Az-Zahra communities, deceased and loved ones who passed away. Surah Fatiha for everybody, inshallah. And inshallah, remember, and Dua Tawassul on Tuesdays and Dua Kumal on Thursdays, inshallah.